The Galactic Council chamber had never known such silence. For 3,000 years, species from across the Andromeda and Milky Way galaxies had gathered in this crystalline hall, their voices echoing through translation matrices, their debates shaping the course of civilizations. But today the silence was absolute, and it terrified them all. Luna stood at the human delegation's platform, her arms crossed, her expression carved from stone. Beside her, Max leaned against the podium with deliberate casualness, examining his fingernails as if the 700 assembled representatives were beneath his notice. Neither human had spoken a single word in 47 hours. The Zathari ambassador, his scales rippling with anxiety, tried again. Surely the humans must understand the gravity of this situation. The contested sectors require immediate arbitration. Your silence serves no purpose. Luna's eyes flicked toward the reptilian diplomat. She said nothing. Max yawned. Panic rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. The delegates had grown accustomed to humanity's peculiar way of negotiating. Their strange mixture of humor and threat, their incomprehensible references to rock and hard places, their maddening insistence on what they called fair play. But this silent treatment was something entirely new, and it was working in ways that warfare never had. Commander Jiren of the Cathari Empire watched the humans with mounting dread. His species had ruled 70 systems through military might, and he understood the language of power. But what the humans were doing now transcended conventional intimidation. They had transformed absence into presence, silence into a weapon sharper than any blade. It has been 2 standard cycles, Jiren announced, his voice carrying the weight of desperation disguised as authority. The Terran Federation has obligations under the Treaty of New Geneva. You cannot simply refuse to participate in council proceedings. Max finally looked up. For a heartbeat, every being in the chamber thought he might speak. Instead, he smiled. That uniquely human expression that never quite reached the eyes when they were truly dangerous, and returned to studying his hands. The Hive Queen of Sector 7, her 1,000 voices usually harmonizing in perfect unity, fractured into discordant tones. What do they want? Resources? Territory? We have offered concessions on the mining rights. We have withdrawn our claim to the beta stations. What more can we possibly give? Luna pulled out a small device, an antique Earth tablet the delegates had learned, and began scrolling through it. The gesture was so casual, so dismissive, that Ambassador Velkos of the Merchant Guilds actually staggered backward as if struck. The truth was spreading through the council like a virus. Humanity had run out of patience, and no one knew what that meant. For decades, the other species had relied on human intervention. When the Zathari and the Cathari went to war, human diplomats brokered peace. When the Hive expanded into contested space, human negotiators found compromise. When pirates raided the trade lanes, human fleets restored order. Humanity had become the galaxy's reluctant guardians, its tired parents, its eternal mediators. And now, those parents had stopped talking, and the children were discovering just how much they had taken for granted. Perhaps, whispered Ambassador Felthan of the Crystalline Collective, his form shimmering with fear, we have pushed them too far. The memory hung in the air like a ghost. 3 months ago, the Council had voted to deny humanity's request for protected status for Earth's oceans. It had seemed a minor issue. Earth was but one world among millions. The vote had been close, but the coalition of commercial interests had won. 1 week later, human freighters stopped carrying non-Terran goods. Human security contractors withdrew from their posts across 100 stations. Human medical ships, legendary for their response to any disaster, remained docked in Sol system. And human diplomats who had filled the council chambers with their exasperating but effective chatter went silent. The galaxy was discovering what absence truly meant. Max checked his chronometer. Luna noticed and gave the slightest nod. Whatever timeline they were following, it was their own, and the council could only watch and wonder. We apologize. The shout came from Ambassador Tirek of the Agricultural Worlds, his voice breaking with emotion. Is that what you want to hear? We apologize for the vote. We were wrong to dismiss your concerns about Earth's biosphere. Luna's expression didn't change. Max looked at his fingernails again. The Zathari ambassador's scales had gone pale. What do you want from us? He demanded. Name your price. Territory? Trade rights? A seat on the Security Council? For the first time, Luna moved. She stood, fully upright. And though she was smaller than almost every being in the chamber, she suddenly seemed to tower over them all. Max straightened beside her, and together they began walking toward the exit. Wait! Commander Jurin's voice cracked. You cannot leave. The frontier conflicts will escalate without mediation. The trade disputes will collapse into warfare. We need you. Luna paused at the threshold. The entire council held its breath. Slowly she turned back, and when she spoke, her voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the vast chamber. No, she said simply. You need to learn to solve your own problems. Max added, his tone conversational but edged with steel. We've been the galaxy's babysitters for 50 years. We've negotiated your treaties, fought your pirates, and cleaned up your messes. And what did we get? Dismissed when it mattered to us. The vote will be reconsidered, the Hive Queen buzzed frantically. Earth's oceans will receive protected status. We swear it. Luna's smile was cold. That's a start. But you've got bigger problems now. You've spent half a century building a galaxy that only functions because humanity holds it together. Now you're going to find out what happens when we stop. This is blackmail, Ambassador Velkos sputtered. No, Max replied, his voice carrying a hint of that dangerous human humor. This is a teaching moment. We tried asking nicely. We tried explaining. We tried voting through proper channels. You ignored us. So now you get to experience natural consequences. The two humans walked out, their footsteps echoing in the frozen silence they left behind. Within hours, border disputes that had been peacefully managed for years erupted into violence. Trade networks, balanced by human logistics expertise, began collapsing. Criminal syndicates, kept in check by the reputation of human justice, grew bold. The carefully maintained peace that the galaxy had enjoyed was revealed for what it truly was. A fragile construct held together by a species that everyone had taken for granted. In the human delegation's quarters, Luna and Max watched the news feeds, their expressions thoughtful. How long do we wait? Max asked. Luna considered. Until they understand that participation in a civilization means respecting all its members, even the ones with just one little blue planet. They're panicking. Good, fear is an excellent teacher. Luna's expression softened slightly. We'll help them again, eventually. But first, they need to learn this lesson. Outside the galaxy, burned with the consequences of its own neglect, and for the first time in 3,000 years, the council chambers remained empty, waiting for the day when humanity might choose to speak again. And in that silence, the galaxy finally learned to listen,